Hey, Tom, California, uh, Washington, Illinois, New York are giving truck drivers driver's license when they can't speak English, when they don't even have to pass many of the same tests that our drivers here in the United States do. What do we do about this? I mean, what can the federal government do to force states to comply to make sure these people are ready to go out on the road?
Hey, Dave, good morning, and it's good to be on with you. Yeah, I've learned of this threat to Arkansas motorists and families recently, and we've introduced legislation that would require states to include an English section to the commercial driver's license exams. I think it's only common sense that anybody who has a driver's license, period, but certainly someone who has a commercial driver's license to drive big box trucks or big rigs should be able to speak English, which is the language obviously on road signs and especially on interstate highways like I-40 and I-30, on electronic signs that give updates and notices. And that legislation would mandate that each state make that a part of their exam. Interstate transportation is obviously a classic example of what our founding fathers wanted Congress to regulate, with commercial driver's licenses being issued in some of these license mills like California. Well, that affects us in Arkansas as well, because people can just get on I-40 and truck all the way to North Carolina and spend 4 hours in Arkansas. And that's a very real danger to our families. And I think it's something where federal action is called for.
Okay, so I mean, you guys got a lot of stuff on your plate right now with the government reopening, and the Democrats are screaming that we're not doing anything as far as healthcare is concerned, which I know is a bunch of bull. But let me just turn it over to you. Let you tell our listeners. You all have some ideas about replacing the Affordable Care Act. I mean, that's neither affordable, neither is it caring. Go ahead and talk about that.
That's well said, Dave. Yeah, the ironically named Affordable Care Act, because it has made health insurance increasingly unaffordable for working Arkansans and their families. Since Obamacare went into effect about 12 years ago, premiums have more than doubled for Arkansans on the exchanges, and deductibles have nearly tripled. That's how unaffordable health insurance has become on the exchanges. But of course, it's not just the exchanges. Only a small percentage of Arkansans get their insurance through the Obamacare exchanges. The vast majority of them have private insurance on the job, but Obamacare also has caused your insurance on the job to increase as well because of its needless mandates and one size fits all rules. For instance, Arkansans in their 20s who are single and healthy, they have different health insurance needs than families in their 30s and 40s with young kids, or empty nesters in their 50s and 60s. And we should allow Arkansans to make choices for themselves, just like we do, for instance, for their car insurance. Whether you drive an old late model sedan or drive a brand new Ford F-150, people make different choices that fit their life circumstances. So we have some ideas that would essentially unbundle those mandates and let people make choices for themselves, especially letting young people buy insurance that fits their needs, which is mostly a hedge against catastrophic illness or injury, a terrible car accident, or a tragic cancer diagnosis, or something along those lines. We'd also like to see more people be able to invest in health savings accounts and tax advantaged accounts that allow people to use pre-tax dollars to pay their co-pays, to pay their deductibles, to buy their prescription drugs. On Obamacare itself, again, the expiration of Biden's Obamacare COVID bonuses did not cause these premium increases, only a small part of it. But we're willing to talk with the Democrats as long as we take some basic prudent measures. I mean, there's no income cap on those COVID bonuses for Obamacare, so people earning six figures can get them. There's no protections against fraud, so some people are being signed up by unscrupulous brokers without even knowing they're signed up. And all that money then just goes straight to the insurance company without ever having to pay out any policies at all. And of course, there's no hide protections. There's no insurance that this is not taxpayer dollars going to pay for abortion or abortion-related procedures. So those are some of the reforms that I think we would insist upon in the Congress for that specific issue. But the broader issue, you're right, Dave, is that Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, has made health care unaffordable for too many Arkansans.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. Let me end up by asking about cash bail and how so many cities have gotten rid of it. Is that something that can be done legislatively with the Congress to get cash bail reinstated for these violent offenders? We're putting people back on the street that have killed people. That doesn't seem very smart to me.
No, not at all. And fortunately, Arkansas, by and large, doesn't indulge in such nonsense. I mean, we understand that violent and repeat felons in particular need to be locked away in pretrial confinement. And if they're convicted, as they usually are, locked away and have the key thrown away. That's a harder question, Dave, because most of those policies are determined by the states. And you, like I, believe that we should respect states' prerogatives under our Constitution. But of course, a lot of these states and municipalities, as President Trump has pointed out, do depend mightily on various kinds of grants and transfers from the Department of Justice or other federal departments and agencies. And it's not at all uncommon to make such transfers and grants contingent on certain policies. That's, for instance, why there's a uniform drinking age in the country now at 21. It didn't used to be that way decades ago, but there was a national consensus that we needed to keep alcohol out of the hands of teenage drivers, and the best way to do that was to raise the age. And Congress, again, decades ago, made highway funds contingent on states raising the age limit for alcohol purchases. So there are ways that Congress can create big incentives for states to adopt more sensible criminal justice policies, because, of course, it's not just limited to Democratic states. Blue cities are far away. These people can travel, Arkansans can travel. They can be at risk of heinous crimes, even if our criminal justice system in Arkansas is the right approach.
All right, last question for you. I promised them I'd ask the last question before 45, so here it is. H-1B visas. The president said that there's some people that are outside the borders of the United States that we can use inside the United States. What are some things we got to pay attention to so that we don't, kind of screw the pooch along the way?
Well, as a general principle, Dave, I'm willing to concede that point. I've got the MLB network playing in the background, and there are dozens and dozens of great baseball players from the Dominican and from Mexico and Venezuela and Japan. We just saw many of them on display in the World Series.
Right.
But again, you're talking there about world-class talent, the Shohei Ohtanis of the world. Just like there's a Shohei Ohtani in baseball, there's a Shohei Ohtani, no doubt, in artificial intelligence and quantum computing and so on and so forth. And I think we should certainly welcome those kinds of immigrants into our country. But what we shouldn't do is open the floodgates for anyone who has anything touching on, say, a tech degree to come in and take away jobs that Americans could very easily do, say the kind of day-to-day work that any mid-sized or large company needs for setting up networks, maintaining network security, doing devices, printers, that kind of thing. And if you look at the employment data, it is seemingly the case that Arkansans with degrees in the STEM fields are struggling to find many entry-level jobs. And that may continue to get worse as artificial intelligence takes over some of those entry-level white-collar tech jobs. So while I certainly concede the point that we want world-class talent coming to America, I think we need to, by and large, make sure that Americans who are educated in these fields have an opportunity to take jobs first before we bring in foreign workers. And that's what a lot of the president's reform should do, increasing the fee for H-1B workers, making it go straight to companies that are going to use these workers as opposed to go through some of these consultancy firms that know how to game the lottery system, making sure that anyone who's going to get one of these visas has a projected income that is above the average income in their local area, which is, again, is a sign that they can't get local workers to take the job. So those are just some prudent reforms that I think are necessary to make sure that we're always putting Arkansas workers first.
All right. I like that. I like that idea. We don't want to repeat what happened with Disney World a few years back, where the people who were working on their computers and things that were American citizens found it almost impossible to have a job, and Indians were coming into the country and taking all the availabilities. We appreciate you, Senator. We'll have you on again in the near future, but you have a good day and good luck working with the Democrats.
All right. Thanks very much, Dave.
All right. We'll talk to you later. All right.